Namaskar. So tonight we will continue with class on or the discussion about the kosas. And so the kosas, they are the layers of the mind. And so the mind has 5 layers. And then the mind also has 3 functional chambers, which are chitta, ahang, and mahat, or the doer, ship, the objectivated I feeling, the ego, or I do, and the feeling of I existence. So all the kosas are within the chitta portion or the objective portion of the mind. Now we have been going through a chapter of idea and ideology, which is Kosa chapter, but we have been also taking references from other sources on that same topic. Tonight I want to cover 2 things. I want to finish going through the Atimanas, Vijnanamaya, and Hiramaya kosas, which are the causal mind, the higher 3 layers of the mind. And I also want to discuss about how do we activate those kosas and how do we perfect them. And this would probably be the last class on the kosa before we move on to some other topic. I think we can start with reading this part. We only have a few sentences left over here. I think because Janmejaya, so welcome to Janmejaya. He is on the Zoom here as Johnny Martin.
Namaskar.
So he's first time here. And so as a summary, Annamaya Kosha, I'll just write in the chat. So Annamaya Kosha is the body. Then Kamaya Kosha is the kosa controlling the instinct and autonomous body. Manomaya Kosa is what we normally call subconscious mind. It's where you have memory and recollection. And then Atimanas, Vijnanamaya, and Hiramaya kosas are the causal mind, and they are subtle kosas. And so today is the 3rd class, and so we'll be going into those subtler kosas. Now, in the, last time when we went through this, we were mostly focusing on the text in Idea and Ideology. But today we will also have to go through the commentary on Ananda Sutram and the Conscious Universe by Devasis. These last few sentences which are left of this discourse are mostly discussing about witnessing entity. And so when we go to this chart here, we see that philosophically, we have the witnessing entity has been given different names according to what it is witnessing. So the witnessing entity for Kamamaya Kosha is Pragya. The witnessing entity for Manomaya Kosha, or the subtle mind, is Tejas. And the witnessing entity for the causal mind, or Atimanas, Vijnanamaya, and Hiramaya kosas, is Vishwa. And the witnessing entity for Ahang Tattva and Mahatattva, which are above Hiramaya kosha, is Purushottama. You may notice that here, this is the macrocosm. The macrocosm also has kosas and lokas. And the witnessing entity for Ahang Tattva and Mahatattva is the same. It's Purushottama, both for macrocosm and microcosm. So I think let's just read this through so that we have finished with this part, and then we can go for the other details in other discourses. So okay, so here we were saying that there is no separate existence of unit Kosa mind from the cosmic Kosa mind. In other words, the higher kosas, if you're able to suspend your mind into those higher kosas, you would feel that your mind is the cosmic mind. You'll feel that the whole universe is within your mind. Baba says it here. By a process of correct sadhana, the sadhaka will feel that there is one causal mind in the universe. You can imagine that's a very beautiful feeling to have that type of realization. Now let's read here. So Emerson, maybe you can read like three paragraphs.
Starting at the entire body?
Yeah.
Okay. The entire body. Here, body does not mean any crude physical structure of the macrocosm can similarly be divided into three parts: crude, subtle, and astral or causal. The physical world being within the psychic scope of the macrocosm cannot have any crude or physical body in the sense the microcosm has. Yet, because of the inclusion of the five bhutas within its mind, the Kamamaya Kosa of the macrocosm is often termed the crude body of the Paratman. The remaining portions of the macrocosm kosas are the subtle body or the suksma deha of Paratman. Aham tattva and mahatattva of Paratman are known as its astral or causal body. The concept of causal body is a philosophic proposition because philosophy says that the moment nucleus Purusattama appeared to have been influenced by his immanent sentient principle, the seed of creation got an expression, and his bodies and lokas or ayokas were created. Similarly, the Annamaya Kosa of the unit is its crude body, Stula Deha. The Kamamaya and Manamaya
Atimanas, yeah.
Atimanasa Vijni
Vigyan Amaya.
Vigna Anamaya and Haranmaya Kosas. Hiranmaya Kosa constitute the subtle body of the unit. Above the scope of the Hiranmaya, until the merger into Purusuttama, the unit certainly possesses a body, but that body cannot be termed causal. It, being the last phase, is known as Samanya Deha.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so you're saying that the macrocosm cannot have any, the macrocosm cannot have any crude or physical body in the sense the microcosm has. But because of the inclusion of the five Buddhas within its mind, the karma kosa, the macrocosm, is often termed as the crude body of Paramatman. Means the five Buddhas, that means ether, air, fire, water, liquid, and solid. Means all the elements of the universe are within the mind or the macrocosm. And because those elements are within the mind, that's why the karma kosa, the macrocosm, is turned as the crude body of Paramatma. And the remaining ones are subtle Sukshma Deva and causal or astral body. Now he says here, the concept of causal body is a philosophic proposition, because philosophy says that, so basically like when you go here into Mahatattva and Ahang in the macrocosmic mind, like let's say in the creation of the universe, Mahatattva and Ahang is completely non-physical. And so that's why he says it's philosophical, because we can only comprehend it philosophically. But we cannot, there is no expression yet. There's no physical expression in Mahatattva and Ahang. And the idea is that Mahatattva is influenced by the sentient principle, or the sattva guna, and the Ahang Tattva is influenced by the rajasic principle. But they are the causal body of the macrocosmic mind. And on all these kosas, they are the subtle body. And the karma kosa is including bhu and bhuva, which are the physical world. The physical world is here in bhu. So like we have kosas, but the supreme consciousness, means the macrocosm, has what is called lokas, or worlds. And so you see there are so many of those, there's 7, and only the last one is physical. So from this we can see that, according to this theory or philosophy, the universe is more mental than physical. Physical is only the last portion of the macrocosmic mind. Everything else is subtle. Bhuva is the mind, the ectoplasm, and Bhu is the actual physical world. And so this is called crude because it is manifested in the physical world. And so similarly, the Ananda Marga Astaunga, the unit body, is called crude body, or Stula Deha. So the physical body is called Ananda Marga Astaunga, this one here. And so that one is crude, whereas crude body is Ananda Marga Astaunga. And in our microcosm, these 5 kosas, they are all subtle. The mind is subtle. And Ahang Tattva and Mahatattva, they are even more subtle than subtle. They are more subtle than the mind. And as they don't have any physical expression, they are actually one with the Supreme. The difficult part to understand with this is that Chitta, Ahang, and Mahat have both functional roles as well as explaining our connection with the Supreme. So we are kind of like we are like an iceberg, in the sense that an iceberg, like let's say this is the water level, and the iceberg is just coming up like this, and then there's all the rest is under. So similarly, like we have this crude body and mind, but then we also have the subtler portion of our mind, and then even more subtle than that is the portion of our existence which is completely one with the Supreme, with the cosmic mind. And so that's why different sages and spiritual people, if they're able to bring their mind to that level, you can practically become all-knowing, omniscient, if your mind was completely merged with those aspects which are one with the Supreme Consciousness. You could be omniscient. But Baba, he deals with that in some other discourses, and he says that also having omniscience is you need to have practically no ego left. Otherwise, you could do terrible things in the world. And so omniscience is only when there's no ego left, basically. Okay, any questions on this? Is it somehow understandable? I know it's very abstract. We'll go to some more concrete things once we are done with this. Okay, we can move on. All right. So then, Padma, maybe you can just finish. You can read the last two paragraphs.
Yes, Dada. Okay, here we are. Okay, here. Where are we? Yeah, we are with the. I have to start with by its very nature.
By its very
correct?
nature,
Yeah. Okay, yes. By its very nature. Can you hear me properly?
Yeah, no problem. Yeah.
Yes, okay. By its very nature, if the mind is to possess objectivity, it must also have a witnessing entity. The witnessing entity is the summum bonum of the mind. Philosophy has given different names to the witnessing entity according to the differences in the nature of the objective mind. But this does not mean that the same Purushottama is not acting as the witnessing entity at different stages of the mind. It is he who reflects himself as a witnessing counterpart by functional difference due to the changing of the mental status. At different stages, different names have been adopted for the singular entity. The Purushottama witnessing the causal cosmic mind, subtle cosmic mind, and crude cosmic mind have been called Virata or Vaishvanara, Hiranya, Garbha, or Ishvara, respectively. Similarly, the Purushottama witnessing the microcosm at the causal, subtle, and crude stages is termed Vishva, Tejasa, and Parigna, respectively. The cosmic entity
Pragya.
Pragyana.
Pragya.
It says Pragya.
It's
Oh,
pragya.
Pragya.
It's like gyan, Gyan.
Pragyan.
Yeah, pragya.
Oh, okay. Pragyan. Pragya, respectively. The
So
cosmic
entity.
entity.
One second. So this is what he's saying. Witnessing entity. There's different names according to what it is witnessing. Like I think the logic behind this is, like, let's say you have a mirror which is witnessing my hands, and then you give that mirror a name, and then you have a mirror which is witnessing my mind, like everything that is going on in my mind is reflected on that mirror. So then you give that mirror a different name because it's different than something witnessing hands, because hands are very physical. And then for the superconscious mind or above subtle mind, then you give a different name, because that's also, it's non-physical. So that's the logic behind giving different names. It's all one entity. It's all one witnessing entity. Supreme infinite consciousness is witnessing everything. Just like, you can think of it like you create something in your mind. Let's say you're dreaming. And so you are witnessing what's going on in your mind. Or let's say you're daydreaming. You're creating something in your mind. You're creating a story in your mind. Then you are witnessing your story, what's going on. Same way, the consciousness is witnessing everything, what is created within itself. And then, depending on the nature of what it is witnessing, philosophically, it has been given different names. That's the logic behind this elaborate name giving, giving all these different names for all these different things. So philosophically, it's very subtle. It's very technical, we can say. Okay, then Padma, you can finish then we're done. You can finish this.
The cosmic entity extends in different lokas wherein the different kosas and the unit minds dwell. The term loka refers only to the macrocosm and not to the unit. The Kamamaya kosa of the cosmic, where the material structure has taken form, is called the Bhurloka, physical world. The Kamamaya kosa of the cosmic entity, where material structure has just begun taking form but has not actually acquired it, is called Burloka, or crude mental world. The level of Manomaya, Atimanasa, Vijnanamaya, and Hiranmaya kosa are known as Swarloka, or subtle mental world, Maharloka, or supramental world, Janarloka, or subliminal world, and Taparloka, respectively. Above that, since the causal body is conceived to be in existence from a philosophic point of view, it is termed Satyaloka.
Okay, so this is actually another topic, which is the lokas. And so we may want to cover this one in the next study group. But the interesting part of this one is you have the Bhurloka, and then the Kamaya kosa, the cosmic entity, where material structure has just begun taking form but has not actually acquired it, is called Bhuvaloka, or crude mental world. This is very interesting from the point of science, that you have basically, like, let's say we continue with this allegory where I was saying that you're creating something in your mind. Now, let's say that the mind has a body. We can call it mental body. Shrii Shrii Anandamurti calls it ectoplasm. Now, this ectoplasm is the raw material for creating all these images in my mind. And I was reading another discourse this weekend where Shrii Shrii Anandamurti is explaining that this Bhuvaloka, or is like the ectoplasm of the cosmic mind. And so it is like the raw material for the created universe. So you have the subtle bodies, which are non-material, and then you have the cosmic mind, the ectoplasm of the cosmic mind, which has infinite potentiality to create things. And so the Bhuvaloka is the metamorphosis from cosmic ectoplasm into material existence. So it's very subtle. Very subtle explanation on this. Does it somehow make sense? Or do you have any question on that? I know it's very abstract. It's difficult to comment anything on these things. Okay, let's go to something more concrete. How can we improve our meditation? And how can we let's first take a little bit look at the Conscious Universe by Devashish. You can see it, right? So he talks about the same things here as we have been talking about. Kosas are the layers of the chitta, the mind stuff, or the objectivated portion of the mind. And then he starts to talk about the different kosas. Just to revise, because it's not bad to revise it a little bit. So the Kamaya kosa is the part of the mind that interacts with the physical world through the gateways of the senses. You remember in our first class, we were talking about the tanmatras, which are the inferences that we receive through our sensory organs. Now, so the Kamaya kosha is connected to phenomenal experience. Now, the Manomaya kosha is the mental layer or the thinking mind. It's where we think, we remember things, and we make decisions. Is what we use from day to day. What is normally called subconscious mind. Now, then we have the interaction between those two. And so sometimes we are very instinctual, and sometimes our mind takes over. So like, let's say I want to eat ice cream. So it's instinct, you know, I'm hungry, I want to eat ice cream. So it's very sensual. But then the Manomaya kosa may say, no, ice cream is not good for you. You know, may catch cold, it has a lot of sugar, and you know, you may be tired tomorrow if you eat ice cream now. So then the Manomaya kosa, if the Manomaya kosa is active in your body, active in your being, then the Manomaya kosha will control your desire to take ice cream and will tell you, no, I don't want ice cream. If I eat ice cream now, if you eat ice cream, you'll be tired tomorrow. So there's a constant battle between those two, the instinct and the subconscious mind. Now, subtler than the Manomaya kosa is the Atimanas kosa, which is the supramental mind. And so the Manomaya kosa is analytic in nature, and Atimanas kosa is more synthetic. And so it's where you have the different creativities, like Mozart, or when we are creating new kirtans, poetry, all of these things, they come from the Atimanas kosha. And now the samskaras are stored in the next higher kosa, which is called Vijnanamaya kosha. So they start expressing in the Atimanas kosha, but they are stored in the Vijnanamaya kosha. And they are expressed in the Manomaya kosha. So now the samskaras, those are reactions of past actions which are stored in the mind. The Atimanas, Vijnanamaya and Hiramaya koshas they are all, when you die, those three layers, they don't die. They will become dormant and they will go to the next body. The Manamaya Kosha and Kamaya Kosha, they will be destroyed. You will not be able to bring your knowledge to your next life, generally speaking. But of course, some knowledge is already stored in Atimanos Kosa. So if you're able to access your higher mind, you may still be able to access it. But generally speaking, we cannot remember our past lives because our past lives are more, if we are more existing, if our existence is more in the Kamaya and Manmaya Kosha, we will not remember those things because they are related to the brain. But the Atimanas, Vijnanamaya, and Hiramaya Kosas, they are non-cerebral. And so if your mental capacity is more on that level, yes, you may be able to bring that to next life. And so that's why it's said that doing meditation is the best utilization of time, because that is something you will not forget. That will continue because that is done with the higher layers of the mind. Whereas all of this, like let's say you spend your whole day memorizing this, memorizing that, knowing this, knowing that. When you die, you forget all of that. So now the higher kosas, normally we cannot access those unless we are able to still our mind. We are able to make our Kamaya and Manamaya Kosa tranquil and relaxed. And then, those intuition can come forth. And so Atimanas is the kosa which is associated with clairvoyance, clairaudience, telepathy, and so on. And the reason why you can find all this information is because it's causal. So you are accessing information from the cosmic mind. Now then you have the Vijnanamaya Kosa, which Anandamurti calls subliminal mind. And here, Vivek and Vairagya, discrimination and non-attachment are most prominent. Now, Vivek is discrimination. Sometimes when we hear the word discrimination, in the general use of this word here in the US, it's often used in the negative sense, that you are discriminating, there's normally you have to sometimes sign a non-discriminatory clause, or you have to, a clinic will say, our policy is we are non-discriminatory when it comes to race and gender and wealth, etc. So in medical settings, you have to, they have to maintain a non-discriminatory policy. But here, we are not talking about this type of things. We are talking about discriminating between good and bad, understanding what is relative, what is absolute, what is ephemeral, what is, And so Vivek, or discrimination, is a very subtle concept. And so that's why, discrimination is not that easy to understand. What to know, what to do in our life is really not that easy, because it's originating from the Vijnanamaya Kosa, which is the higher kosas. And so that's why we tend to make a lot of bad decisions in our life, because we are not able to access those higher layers of mind. And so we base our decisions on the Manamaya Kosha instead of basing it on the Vijnanamaya Kosa, which has causal information. And so the concept of Vivek is very subtle, and we can take that up in another class, because Shrii Shrii Anandamurti, he mentioned that there is 5 different types of Vivek. He goes into very, very much details of it. because it's an important topic for our spiritual practice. Being able to discriminate is important. Not discriminate in the sense of being biased, but discriminate in the sense of understanding deeply the nature of things. Now, vairagya is another one, a non-attachment. So normally, non-attachment, you would think, you would not think of non-attachment, you would think of detached, that you are detached from something. So when it comes to attachment, there's different, like let's say, let's say you love someone, and now you cannot be non-attached or detached from that person. You need to have attachment. Like let's say you have a partner, you need to have attachment to your partner. Otherwise the relationship is not going to work. Or like let's say you love the supreme being, supreme consciousness. There has to be attachment, right? You have to feel some affinity, affection for the supreme, for developing the spiritual practice. But here, when we are talking about non-attachment, we are talking about that, and that's why it's in the Vijnanamaya Kosa, you understand that the person you are dealing with is an expression of the Supreme Being. And so when you're dealing with a person, if you are able to function on this kosa, you'll be non-attached in the sense that you are feeling the Supreme Being in that person. And so your mind is flowing in a very blissful way. It's something which is very important for the sannyasis, for the monks and nuns, because we have to love people, we have to take care of people, we have to be in this world and take care of so many duties. But at the same time, we have to keep our mind in a state where we are just feeling the supreme bliss in everything. And it's a very tall order, and it's a real thing. It's something that we have to experience in order to maintain our sannyasi life, our monk and nun life in a beautiful way. I mean, of course, you can live your life on different levels, but if you want to experience sannyasi life in the real sense, then that would be this thing. Okay, here is another aspect of this. So Vijnanamaya Kosa is also the kosa of aesthetics. So the kosa of higher aesthetics. So you start to feel the bliss and ecstasy in fine arts, etc. And so now Vijnanamaya Kosa is also the kosa where the samskaras are originating. So you will have some preferences here in this kosa. So like, let's say you are a musician, so you will have some preferences for certain music. A certain music moves you and makes you feel blissful. And you may also have certain aesthetics in your life. You may want to arrange your room in a certain way. You may want to, keep a painting on your wall. You may want to keep everything aesthetic and beautiful. All of this is part of this aesthetics. And so it's sorry. Now then we come to the highest kosa, which is called Hiramaya Kosa, or the subtle causal mind. And yes, it works. So Hiramaya Kosa, or the subtle causal mind, and in Vedanta it's called as Anandamaya Kosa. Ananda means bliss. And so Hiramaya is gold, and it is just very thin veil between Hiramaya and the consciousness. Now in this kosa, there's only one desire to merge in the supreme self, or moksha. So you only have pure feeling of bliss and longing to merge. There are some very beautiful Pravat Samgits which are expressing this. I will maybe select one and sing for you next time. Some of the Pravat Samgits, songs, they are expressing this desire where it's like intense desire to become one with the Supreme. And very, very beautiful song. There are many very beautiful songs expressing this state here. And I think this one is beyond the samskaras, and so it's very peaceful. Okay, samskaras are still there, but just in a seed form. Establishment in this layer is equivalent to Savikalpa Samadhi. Okay. Any questions? Otherwise, I want to just conclude today so we can go for something next time. Now, here are the different ways to perfect those kosas. And so let's go a little bit through that. So for the physical body, you need to take proper diet, the sattvic food, and you need to do asanas and do physical labor. Means you need to exercise. You need to take care of your body. So the food, asanas, and exercising. That's the Annamaya Kosa, the physical body. So the physical body also influences the mind. Now the Kamamaya Kosa, the kosa of instincts, you need to implement Jama Niyama in your life. And Jama Niyama is the moral principles, and they regulate Kamamaya Kosa. Like, let's say, the desire for acquisition, then aparigraha will have to control the desire for acquisition. And the sadistic tendency or desire to harm others, the ahimsa will have to control that instinct. So the Jama Niyama have to control our instincts. And Manamaya Kosha, the pranayam, helps to control this kosha. Pranayam is the breath control. It is our fourth lesson in our system. Then Adimanas Kosha, the pratyahar, helps to perfect this layer. Pratyahar is the Bhuta Shuddhi. It is the first part of the first lesson. And then Vijnanamaya Kosha is the dharana, or, well, he says conception, or we normally say concentration. So dharana helps to perfect the Vijnanamaya Kosha. And then dhyan helps to perfect the Hiramaya Kosha. And so, here it says, Pratyahar is accomplished in Ananda Marga sadhana by the three Shuddhis, purifications, and by Varnaga Dhyan, or Guru Puja. So as you see, when we are doing our meditation, we are perfecting the kosas, And it all depends on the food and the yoga. That's the very basis of everything. And Shama Niyama. So those are the basics. And then the different meditation practices, they work on the Adimana, Svikanamaya, and Hiramaya Kosa. And so if you get established in Dhyan, if you get established in this form of meditation, you will get established in Savikalpa Samadhi. So there was one Acharya Chandranath. He was one of the early sadhakas, early meditators. And there was a Dada who was living with me in Taiwan. His name is Dada Manavendrananda. So this Dada, we were often communicating, and he had visited Acharya Chandranath. And he told me that Chandranathji, they were discussing about meditation, and he was reminding him, and you have to also do proper samadhi. You know, normally we think of samadhi as something like almost unachievable, but this Acharya Chandranath, he would daily go into samadhi. So he told Dada, don't neglect your samadhis, you know. So if we get established in our meditation, all these things are within easy reach. Okay, so this was a lot in one evening. I think I will stop the recording and we can have some chat.